Dave Christian bolts into the studio. Faster my Dave, how are you?
Faster mine, not bad.
Sporting a Leicester Tigers jersey this evening, not the festive jumper. The only reason I am wearing this is the final Friday sport before Christmas, so it's the only chance to wear this. Some big games tomorrow. Ramsey travelling to Mossley Hill. I'll let you give us the info on that one.
Yeah, we've been doing a little bit of research. Obviously, Ramsey's my club, and we've been looking at what results are needed to make sure that we get a top 5 finish for this split league arrangement that we have this season. And, we've targeted that out of the last 6 games, we needed to win at least 4. And the first one of those was last week with a bonus point win at home against Newton Le Willows. But Mossley Hill away is one that also needs to be won. Now, Mossley Hill won at the Murrick Park earlier this season, and the guys are taking a very strong tide away tomorrow to try and make sure that we pick up at least 4 points away at Mossley Hill. Mossley Hill are potentially in the mix for a top 5 finish as well, so taking 4 points off them on their own turf would actually work very well. It's a heavy pitch there at it's about 10 minutes away from the airport, so it's really close and convenient in terms of travelling, but it's quite a heavy pitch. There was no game on it last week. Mossley Hill tell me that they don't think it's going to be frozen tomorrow, so it looks like the game will go ahead. That's a 2:15 kickoff, but Ramsey have taken a big side away. They're going to look to do a little bit of hard work in the forwards and try and grind it out with a little bit of power out on the wings as well. A couple of big guys out in the back line, Dale Ratliff and Nathan Thompson, and trying to get some of those guys a bit of ball in space and have them running in a straight line. They're going to bounce defenders off and hopefully make a few holes in the defence. I think that's the game plan, and well, touch wood, hopefully they'll come back with the points that they need. It's not all doom and gloom if they don't pick up the win. There's still plenty of opportunities, but this is the last game before the Christmas break, and after Christmas there's Parkonians at home. That will become a must-win game, and then 3 very tough ones to finish off the early phase of the season. Birchfield away, Ellesmere Port home, and then Ellesmere Port away, and Ellesmere Port and Birchfield are the 2 top sides. So finding your last 3 fixtures against the 2 top sides is a real cruel blow from Mistress Fate.
It sounds to me then, Dave, like Ramsey have done their homework on Mossley Hill.
Yeah, I mean, we had the coach, our coach we've had from New Zealand, John Moore, and John goes back to New Zealand tomorrow. He was here from September through to Christmas. He was hoping to stay the full season, but he's got family arrangements in New Zealand that he has to go back to. So John's very analytical, keeps a very detailed notebook of every game, looking at tackle stats, turnover stats. He's also watching the opposition and looking at what needs to be done for the reverse game. So John providing that very detailed analysis that perhaps we weren't doing in the past, and that's given a couple of our coaches some ideas for going forward for that sort of monitoring. But yeah, you're right, the homework has been done. Part of it, of course, is travelling away is you take whoever's available, but this week he's gone for the best possible squad, and like I said, there's some big old boys there, and hopefully they'll just come back with enough to take 4 points at least from Mossley Hill.
Ramsey in second place as it stands, but Mossley Hill won't be pushovers, as you've said. They won at the Murrick Park earlier this year. Now, we know in team sports that can have several effects. It can either play on the minds of a few players, or it can spur them on to avenge the defeat earlier in the season. Which way do you think it'll go? Are Ramsey in the right frame of mind, do you think?
Yeah, indeed, and there's some personnel changes from that home game as well. It wasn't our strongest possible side, even though it was home. There was a couple of unavailabilities, a couple of injuries, and all of a sudden that changes your game dynamic quite a bit, just missing 3 or 4 of the regular setup. And this week, like I said, we've got probably the best side available that we have at the moment, and I don't think there's anybody been unable to travel this week. 1 or 2 were work commitments, but by and large we've got the A team going away, so hopefully they'll come back with a result, and things will look good at Christmas.
And Mossley Hill, one of 7 teams gunning for those top 5 spots. And as I just said, Ramsey in second. You must be confident that Ramsey will secure a top 5 place.
Yeah, pretty much. But those last 4 matches, Parkonians are no pushovers, and I know they're looking forward because we've visited them, and we played a cup game at their ground as well. They're a friendly bunch of guys off the field. On the field, they're very tough and uncompromising, and even at Murrick Park, that's going to be a tricky fixture. But the worry is those last three, and ideally we'd like to be in a strong position before we have to play Birchfield and Ellesmere Port again. And Lady Luck smiled on us a little bit. That second place is a little bit deceptive because everybody else has got games in hand. There are no free weeks to get those games in hand in, so that's probably going to be a pools panel type result decided by the league committee, and no one's really sure how that's going to work. I don't think the league committee are, if I'm honest. They didn't really foresee this problem. So it's a little bit up in the air. We have got our fingers crossed that things will turn out right.
And what's the mood like amongst the Ramsey players? Are they talking about the possibility of promotion? Obviously, they have that mini-league against South Lancashire and Cheshire Division 3 North. But are they talking about it? Are they upbeat and optimistic? Or are they trying not to think about it and just treat every game as a must-win?
Yeah, I think you're right. Every game is a must-win. Nobody's even talking about promotion now because we know that we'll definitely have to face Ellesmere Port and Birchfield in that other league if we qualify for it. We don't know the respective strengths of the teams in Division 3 North. Garstang and Bury have both been going well, so they're likely to be on the agenda, but they're teams that we haven't played before, so it's very difficult, and all we can do is do the best we can, make sure we get a top 5 finish and move on from there.
So that's Ramsey travelling to Mossley Hill in South Lancashire and Cheshire Division 3 South tomorrow, 2:15 kick-off. Also travelling away in North 1 West, Douglas to Furwood Waterloo. For those who don't know where that is, can you enlighten us?
Well, I can enlighten you, and quite embarrassing really, but I've actually got the fixture the wrong way round. So it's at Portashee, just next to Quarterbridge.
There we go. So you don't need to know where Furwood Waterloo. If they ask you that on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, then phone a friend. Don't phone Dave Christian, though, because he won't tell you. Douglas against Furwood Waterloo then at Portashee.
Yeah, I've been getting a fearful slagging on social media because of that as well, because obviously the fixture was put out wrong. Douglas played Waterloo in the very first game of the season, and they won away, and that gave them quite an encouraging start to their North 1 West campaign. Since then, Douglas have kicked on a little bit. They've benefited from, similar to Ramsey, with postponed matches in the league. They're up to third place now, and on the 28th of October, they were 10th. So they've had a really good purple patch in between. We suspect Carl Murray will be missing. He went off after just 5 minutes against Altrincham Kersal last week. So there'll be a gap in the centre for somebody. Not sure who'll fill that, but no, Adam Boyd and Nick Brooker both didn't play last week as well. So there's a couple of faces to come into the back line. I think Douglas will acquit themselves well. They've got home advantage. They haven't actually played at Portashee now for a couple of weeks because the pitch hasn't really been fit. They've played a few of the games up at Vagabonds, and last week they were actually at Ramsey's Murrick Park. So I think things are going well for Douglas. Furwood Waterloo, they've only won 5 from 12, but they have scored an incredible 13 bonus points, more bonus points than anybody else in that league, which has kept them in the hunt. But from second down to 9th, I think, you've got 7 clubs all within touch and distance of each other. There's only a 3-point spread for 7. So Douglas, Warrington, Wilmslow, Northwich, Burnage, Blackburn, Stockport, and Furwood Waterloo themselves are all in with a shout. So it really is tight in this league, and Douglas could yet get a promotion place finish. So fingers crossed for them, but I think we should see a home win tomorrow.
What's your views on the situation going forward in the league? As you said, Douglas may get promotion. What's your view on that? Do you feel confident that they can succeed in that aim?
Well, they've put themselves in the mix. Now, this league feeds into, I think there's 2 sister leagues feed into one above, so there's only one guaranteed promotion place, and the second place teams have to play off for the other. So Douglas had a playoff last season against De La Salle at Portashee. That got them promoted to North 1 West. I think that Vale of Luna, the league leaders, they are only 7 points ahead of Douglas. Vale of Luna have got to come to Portashee yet, and of course Douglas beat them over in Lancaster not too long ago. So there's plenty of opportunities there for Douglas to actually nudge up a little bit higher in that table. That'll start this week with Waterloo, take 5 points off them, and then kick on from then after Christmas.
So that's Douglas versus Furwood Waterloo at Portashee tomorrow in North 1 West. Vagabonds, is Port Sunlight the light at the end of the tunnel?
It could well be. I'm tempted to go to this game. I'll have to look at the weather tomorrow, and I do have to do pitch setup at the Mirrock Park before I go anywhere. And Vagabonds against Port Sunlight is sort of attracting me in. Obviously, Vagabonds have got their well-publicised problems. They are bottom of the table. They haven't had a win all season. They've got no points at all. But Port Sunlight, third from bottom, they've only won 3 times. They got spanked 90-0 by Winnington Park last week. And we're right in the middle of the Christmas party season. Them guys at Port Sunlight aren't going to want to come here tomorrow morning, that's for sure. And Vagabonds, I know Kevin Birchall's back into the side. I heard a rumour in the week that Tom Gascoigne might be back as well. They're a couple of their rock-solid players who were there when they were having good times, and if those two come back into the squad, they'll bring a tremendous amount of experience and nous, as well as their playing capabilities, and that might just turn it for them. And I suspect we might see quite a close result there at Vagabonds tomorrow, so that's at Bella Fletcher, kick-off 2:15.
And speaking to some of the Vagabonds players, they are determined to end this hoodoo. It could be a Christmas miracle. Would you call it a Christmas miracle, Dave?
I'm not so certain about that. I think the fixture gods smiled kindly on them, giving them this game in the middle of the Christmas party season, and with Tom Gascoigne, Kevin Birchall potentially back into the side, that augurs well for them too. And you're right, Rob Martin's very positive, Matt Rockwell's very positive as well when you speak to him. So with those guys driving it, I think they've got half a chance tomorrow, and hopefully, if the timings go right for me, we'll be there to cover it for Saturday Live as well.
So he stops short of calling it a Christmas miracle. That's Vagabonds versus Port Sunlight tomorrow in South Lancashire and Cheshire Division 2. 2:15 kickoffs in the Shimon Wilson Manx Shield as well. We'll start with the one that's on paper the closest of those two matches, Castletown against Western Vikings. Vikings have the upper hand in this one, did they, Dave?
Yeah, I think so. I think they've beaten Castletown already in the Manx Bowl competition. Vikings on the way to the final. Castletown missed out on their spot in it. But Castletown are a little bit tighter than they have been in previous seasons. They haven't struggled quite as much, although I'm sure if the skipper Dan James is listening, he'll tell me that every time is a struggle. But I think they've got some quality players down there. I like the look of Kunal Patel in the centres. I like the look of James Emmett at standoff, and young lad Morgan Armstrong-Patton in the back row. I think they're all quality players, and they should give Western Vikings a bit of a game of it.
Where is the game going to be won and lost?
I would think Vikings forwards, they're traditionally very strong. Peter Crow, very direct style, running off the back of the scrum. And Liam Sweeney, the skipper in the second row, very athletic, and he gets himself all around the park. So the forwards is where Western Vikings will do their damage. Whether or not Castletown can hold them for 80 minutes, well, I'm not too sure about that, but they'll certainly give it a good go. But I think the Western Vikings forwards, particularly the back five of that scrimmage, will be the ones who do the damage.
And then the final game in Manx rugby tomorrow, also a 2:15 kickoff in the Shimon Wilson Manx Shield. Southern Nomads travel to Ramsey B.
Yeah, Ramsey B not had such a good run of it this season. There were some changes made to the league structure that haven't quite worked out for them. They took 4 quite big beatings in the earlier Shimon Wilson Manx Trophy competition. Moved on to the Manx Shield. The fixture gods haven't smiled kindly on them there either. They've picked games against Emerging Nomads when Emerging Nomads were strong. They had a defeat at Western Vikings where they lost Tim Hardesty late on in the second half with a broken leg. And that kind of stuff, it knocks the stuffing out of the players a little bit. But I know the guys are very keen. They've got some young lads there with some older experienced heads. They'll give it a good go against Southern Nomads, but Nomads are the favourites for the competition, and you've got to fancy them to take the win.
So matches in rugby tomorrow. Furwood, Waterloo, they're away at Douglas, playing at Portachee in North 1 West. Vagabonds against Port Sunlight in South Lancashire and Cheshire Division 2. Mossley Hill versus Ramsey, 2:15 kickoff in South Lancashire and Cheshire Division 3 South. That's a big one for Ramsey, hoping to avenge defeat by the same opponents at the Mirrock Park in the reverse fixture earlier in the season. And then 2 fixtures in the Shimon Wilson Manx Shield. You've got Castletown against Western Vikings and Southern Nomads trip to Ramsey B. Where will you be tomorrow, Dave?
I think Vagabonds Port Sunlight is probably the one that's hooked me in, but if I get the opportunity, I get finished quickly enough, I might go Castletown Western Vikings. I'll make the call in the morning.
And just one more, give us some optimism for Vagabonds. Do you believe they'll do it?
Well, there are two home games that they have great opportunities. This is one of them. The other's against Aldershot. If they can't beat Port Sunlight tomorrow, then I think they're pretty much staring relegation right in the face. There's a 17-point gap off the bottom of the table to safety from relegation. At least 10 of those points are going to have to come from the games against Port Sunlight and Aldershot, and if they can't pick those 10 off, I can't see anywhere else that they're going to get them from. So it has to be a Vagabonds win tomorrow.
But on the bright side, they'll be glad to see the back of 2017. It's not been the kindest year for Vagabonds.
No, definitely, and I can trace it back in the results. They started to go a little bit awry in early October 2016, and that's really the point in time when the results sort of started to go south, and they've not really had any sort of comeback from it ever since.